right.
Here we go. Hang on.
Y'all ready for the ride on the journey? It is a brisk 39 degrees here in southwestern Virginia. Looking out the window, I've got all kinds of foliage. I've got orange, red, yellow, still a little bit of green in the mix. Beautiful fall morning. We are up and at 'em early. We've got a lot of stuff going on today. So got a couple co-hosts with me. Sitting in chair number one is Chris, the man Powell. And sitting in, all lovely this morning. You even did your hair, didn't you?
Yeah.
All
of us did. Yeah. This is the team. We got the team hairstyle thing going on here.
Right. Yeah, the lack thereof.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody says as I'm bald, but I'm not. I just keep it cut down as close as I can.
Yeah, keep telling yourself that.
He is going bald. But
you got a lot of forehead. Your forehead is getting big.
Growing, isn't it? Yeah. And sitting in the second chair, we pulled him over from all mixed up, is Chad Reynolds. And he had to get out of bed super early this morning. So, Chad, how's things your way?
Great. Yeah, it's a little chilly, but all's well.
It's chilly there?
That's right. I think it's like 34 degrees right now. So,
yeah, I hope it warms up because I'm gonna be on post today for about 7 hours, and it says it's supposed to be 70. So let's hope it does get up there. I don't want to wear a jacket.
Where are you going?
No, don't ask.
Yeah, tell us where you're going.
So
you're going to the premier. They're like top 10 ranked right now, aren't they?
In the bottom 200. Yeah. So I'm going to work
Virginia Tech Hokies.
Yeah. So I volunteered my services to guard the gates, I guess. So that's an overtime assignment we have, is to go to the Tech games and work the games. And, it's a 9-hour stint. Standing on your legs is pretty torturesome, especially as the older I get. When I was younger, it's pretty fun. And now it's like, I don't want to really do this, but I need the money. So having to fix a truck and buy another truck and pay things off right here at Christmas time, taxes are due. I mean, I gotta get it while you can. What my dad said. Dad said, you got to get the eggs when the hens are clucking. So, all right. Well, let's dive into this. So this episode kind of got brought up from some prior episodes. I brought Chad in. We brought Chad in because of the conversation they had on the AMA, the Ask Me Anything Friday. So one of the questions that I want to break down with him, I mean, he trains dogs, I trains dogs, and, everybody does things a little different, and I'm always willing to learn. So one of the things I want to break down with him is because of that conversation him and Chris had a couple Fridays ago. And then Chris had a question about his Yag in the pants terrier.
Yeah.
So we're just going to break it down. This is going to be a learning session. I listened to a podcast. Guys, podcast. Let's talk about podcast real quick. Podcast is a free source of learning. It's free. You can hook it up on your Bluetooth in your vehicle. You can put it on a headset. There is information out there everywhere. And it's a free source of information. Will Smith was on Oprah years and years and years ago. My mom watched that stuff all the time. And Oprah was asking Will Smith a question, and he said, there's nothing that I can't learn by picking up a book. He said, it's already been wrote about. It's already been there. Somebody's already experienced the things that you're experiencing. And I think podcasts are the new books. I mean, I think that there's a lot of information out there, and it's free. It's free. And one of
podcasts, one chapter at a time, is how they're put out. They're also the new source of, there's a lot of news media stuff coming out. It's replacing and got traditional mainstream stuff. It's got people worried, it does.
Yeah. But I was listening to a podcast with, oh Lord, I just drew a blank. He's out in California. He works for Learberg. Come on, Chad, help me out with this one. Anyway, I'll come up with it in a minute. But his conversation was that as a dog handler or dog trainer, if you're still doing stuff that you were doing 10 years ago and are not evolving, then you're just doing a discredit to yourself and or your dog.
Oh, that's the
hound.
Truth. That's the truth.
So I was mowing yesterday and I was listening to this podcast. Michael Ellis, that's who we're talking about.
Okay.
I mean, he is world renowned. Very big in the Mondio ring. He works for Learberg, puts out videos on YouTube. He does schools. He is a wealth of knowledge when it comes to dog training and behavior. So Michael said that, one thing that took him a long time to realize is that it's constantly evolving. And I think that's part of what we talk about here with Houndsman XP. The journey, I know that that's something I feel strongly about is I still do some things I did 10 years ago, but I'm open to evolving and making things better. The old styles, and you've heard me talk about it, and I'm sure Chad is in the same way too. The old styles of just making your dogs do what you want to do is we don't do that anymore. We motivate them and encourage them, and we shape those behaviors into the behaviors that we desire.
Mm-hmm.
So when Michael said that, it kind of stuck with me, and it made sense. And I'm like, okay, I constantly want to be evolving. Like,
well, I've got something I want to bring up there real quick before we get too far down the path here, because it just came to me. But it's not that the dogs have changed in 10 years. It's that there have been billions with a B of dollars spent on the research on how dogs learn, dog behavior, how dogs use their nose, and it's all because of Homeland Security, 9/11 type stuff. In the last 10 years, the amount of money that has been spent on that research probably is equivalent to what's been spent from all time, just so we can find terrorists, so we can find bombs, so we can, do all the war on drugs, all this stuff. Am I right or wrong?
I mean, there's a lot more money dumped into it, right? I mean,
yeah. And I know back in 2000, right before COVID, I want to say 2017, and guys, don't hold my feet to the fire on this. This was information I was told by a pretty reliable source that our federal government spent $19 billion trying to replicate the dog's nose to find explosives. And guess what? We're still using the dog's nose. So what Chris is saying has got a lot of couth to it. Go ahead, Chad.
One of the craftiest replacements that I ever saw was them trying to use bees. They'd have it's a little container, a little bigger than like a bar of soap. Think about like double the size of a bar of soap. And they'd have a multitude of bees in there. And they would teach them, and on the bottom, it was porous. So they'd have a bunch of holes in it. And they could teach them that in the presence of this odor, there would be glucose or some kind of reinforcement they'd press it up against. So the closest thing they were able to get was these bees, which was accurate. They worked, but the dang things die so easy, and you had to keep replacing them. And you basically had to have an assembly line of these little bars. But imagine like a bar of soap that you press up against the vehicle and slide it down the side, and all of a sudden all the bees would slap to one side of it. It may be equal to, but it's not practical. You don't get the years of service out of it, the durability, that everything that goes along with it, man. No, dogs are still at the top notch. They can't replace.
Yeah,
they are.
And one other thing I'll throw in, and I'm going to hit my mute button and let you guys run with this. Just because the money's not being spent on chasing a raccoon or chasing a lion or chasing a bear, a dog's nose is a dog's nose. They use it the same, whether they're looking for people, whether they're looking for drugs. They're using the same dog, the same nose to do all this work and studying for the same things.
Yeah, and Chad made the comment on the AMA that you guys did that dogs see the world through the nose. And no matter what school I'm teaching, if it's a narcotics or detection school, if it's a tracking school, or even a patrol school, one of the first videos that I show is the video of the dog, and it's a cartoon animated video. And I think maybe Ariel posted it after our first session, You guys should go back and look at that, because if you look at it in the context that it's set in, not the cartoon, but it's a fact. The dog tells a story that we can never tell, and that's what's drawn me to the hounds and, to hunting with hounds, because they're telling us a story that you and I would never know about if it wasn't for their nose. So anyway, well, the episode I did with Doug and BB, I got a lot of questions and a lot of messages about, well, I had mentioned to BB that, brought up several issues that I had. So the issues that I did have while I was down there was, the first issue is I took Spook, my male dog, and then I took Houdini and Hart. They're both pups. I'm gonna say pups. They turned 19 months old this month. So they're young dogs. They're both out of Spook and Hot Rod's Molly female, and that was the first litter out of Spook. So they'll be 19 months old this month. So they were 18 months old last month. On the big bear that BB ended up killing, Houdini was in on that, but him and Hart, that's the only two dogs I turned loose to begin with. And they were on that bear about 20 minutes. Well, Houdini, I had packed Spook to them, and Houdini just kind of peeled off and made a big loop in there, and he ended up coming through the block and coming out right where I was at. And kind of a little bit puzzled, because he stayed for 20 minutes and then he decided I didn't want any part of this. So I put him in the truck, and anyway, by the time I got around, of course, BB had it killed. So Spook and Hart were the only two dogs that I had on that bear at the end of it. Hart was there the whole time. So this is going to bring up my next issue, and then we're going to talk about the next 2 days, because it plays into what we're talking about today. So they use shotguns down there, and Chad had talked about this on the AMA. So when BB shot that bear, he put multiple rounds in it, and when I got around there, more so Hart than Spook. Spook was a little bit not settled with it. Hart was, she kind of had that frantic look. We all know the ears are kind of laid back. Her eyes were a little bit bigger than normal. You could just tell in her demeanor, like, what's going on here? So, all right. So anyway, they were at the bear. I called them up, and we went on about our business. So BB and I get to having conversations about Houdini, and I'm like, it don't make sense, because at the house, 3 weeks ago, we had a bear, the one that wrecked Trip. He was on that from start to finish, over 3 hours, and it was on the ground, never treed, never run, never nothing. Stayed the whole time. The bear that bit Wesley's dad, well, now it was a small bear. The same thing. He was on it the whole race, the whole time, bait up in a timber cut.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm trying to play this out of my head, like, okay, what's going on? So the next day, we go to another area, and pretty much the same thing. I didn't even turn Spook loose this day. Like, I just held him, kept him in the truck, didn't turn him loose. I put Hart and Houdini. Of course, they fly right in there to Doug's dogs. Two of Doug's dogs had it bayed. So BB and I put some dogs with them. And as soon as Houdini gets there, boom, goes in, and he literally turns and comes right back out. Same path. And I'm like, all right, now I'm getting a little aggravated here. Why are you doing this 2 weeks ago at the house, and you're not doing it now? So anyway, I kept him with me. BB called him. Well, I had him and put him back, and then BB called him. Well, the bear crosses in front of BB. He sees the bear, boom, takes right back off, goes in the woods. They get in there 100 yards into this thick mess. The bear stops. As soon as it stops, he turns and comes right back out. All right. So at this point, I'm pretty aggravated. So Hart and Axe, one of the the newest puppies that are 7 months old, they stay, and the bear Heart stays the whole time. I got Axe in pretty much at the beginning too. They make a big loop in there. They run this for about an hour and 15 minutes. Well, it comes back across the road. BB shoots at it again, or somebody else, maybe, I don't know. They shoot at it again. They fire 3 rounds from a shotgun. Well, I'm coming down the road towards them, and here comes Heart and Axe. And it goes into another patch, and they end up, Will actually. Will ends up getting the bear. They shoot 3 more times.
All right.
So my 2 issues were, and I'm going to start with Houdini. Houdini wanted, okay, so wait, I got to back up. I'm forgetting some of the stories. So Monday on the big bear, he comes out, right? And he don't go back. We get on another bear. It crosses out of one of those cuts. I put him and Heart. Well, I packed him and Heart to Doug's dogs. They go in. They come through this big cut, come through this block, and they cross the road. I put Spook in. Spooks, they run it all the way through that big block and cross the road and go into another block and treat it. He looked like $1 million. Like, bam, on it. I mean, everything that you'd want a young dog to do. Tuesday, nothing. Don't want no part of it. So Wednesday, I was a little bit leery because of what I'd seen out of my dogs. So I held my dogs for a good while that day. And Doug had a dog that come across railroad tracks and coming up to a hard top. So we got around there. And when I pulled up where they were coming, my dogs just blowed up in the box. And my dogs are quiet in the box. If they're blowing up inside the box, I feel very comfortable that it's right and they're going to go. So I drop the tailgate, we turn it, and all 3 dogs, do what they're supposed to do. They get in that big swamp about 40 minutes later. And that's where we had the issue, and the dogs kind of split up. Doug and I caught some dog. Well, I caught Houdini and Heart. And Doug caught one of his. Well, they decided to go on the other side of that swamp, which was across from us, and somebody caught Spook and the other dogs. And they ended up walking that swamp, and that's when they jumped the bear again. And literally, they had it caught. Well, I packed Houdini and Heart from 675 yards. And they didn't waste any time getting to the dogs. But before they got there, that group of dogs had it treed. Spook was in that group. I don't know what all they had. I know BB had a couple dogs there, and I know Doug's whatever. I can't remember which dog he had that was with them. But anyway, they called it and had it treed before the Houdini and Heart got there. But they went flying in there and got there. And when I got to the tree, they're all treeing, doing what they're supposed to do. So that kind of gives you what happened with my dogs. I mean, that's what happened. I took 2 18-month-old dogs. So let's break down Houdini first. And Chad, I'm gonna tell you my thoughts, and you tell me what your thoughts are.
All right.
So yeah, let me add one more thing to that. I know I keep adding to this. So that was Friday. I drive home Friday evening, and Saturday is our youth day. I strike a track. I put 4 dogs down, which is Spook, Maggie, Houdini, and Heart, right off the truck. They take this bear, they go up the mountain, they turn, they come left-handed, start dropping down low. Anyway, they made a big loop in there. About halfway through that loop, they catch. They're not running now, they're just walking. Ooh, they're just walking. On the way back on that loop, our buddy Garrett, was able to put in a couple dogs. And then the bear literally tried to cross the exact same place that I had started it. So they crossed the road in front of us. And it's a small bear. I'm saying 80 pounds. They get down in the creek and they get it caught. And we get down there and I catch Spook and Heart, and they caught a couple of the dogs. I don't know who caught what, but he stayed the whole time. And even after we got dogs caught and it broke out of there, it went around the ridge and ended up climbing a big tree. Like, it's like he's a different dog. He was a different dog from what I'm seeing, from down there to down here. It's like, where'd you come from? What are you doing? So my thoughts are, and I equate this to dogs with slick floors with our police dogs.
Uh-huh.
I feel like it's an environmental thing. I feel like the thickness of the land that they hunt, and you heard BB say it, a lot of times you can't see that bear. It's so thick in there that, I mean, like I said, I was within 10 feet of a bear twice and could see the dogs because they were white and could not make out the bear. Now, of course, it's thick, greenbriers, like it's bad. So in my mind, on the way home, I'm trying to break this down, and that's the conclusion that I come to. I'm like, okay, this is an environmental thing. A couple more trips down there, that should fix, or he should become comfortable with that type of environment. And like I said, I equated that to the slick floors. We have some dogs we get in that's not environmentally, where we'd like them. Slick floors seem to be one of those things. So we go into a school cafeteria or whatever, and the dogs go in there, and I mean, they just pancake. Whoop, they're out. They don't want anything to do with it. They freeze up. So we start at the threshold, and the drill. We play fetch, or we put a little bit of food here, whatever. We get them comfortable, and then a week later they're coming in there like they own the world. Chad, what's your thoughts on that particular situation?
It definitely could be environmental. I mean, the whole time I was thinking, I know there's I had an old timer talk to me before about how good hog dogs will not get themselves closed in. Like they don't like confined spaces genetically. They've kind of been culled out to where, they just won't get caught in a tight space. And that, after hearing that from him, I would kind of look at it, and we'd bay up hogs in a big cedar knee, or, inside like the old wallered out trees, and there's plenty of room in there for another dog or two, but there'd be 10 dogs banned from the outside. None of them wanted to get into that tight confined space. So if that's really knotted up the way you're saying, it's definitely 100% a possibility. He may get in there and smell it and have had himself. Has he been touched by one before? I was like,
Heart. Well, and when I get to her in a minute, no, he's not been. I have not seen any holes or any marks on him. No, I can't tell you he hadn't got pounced, but as far as like physical evidence, I don't have it.
Yeah, sometimes it doesn't even have to be holes, though. You're right. I mean, I've seen some go running by the front end of a bear and get swatted on the hind end and go flying like 10, 15 feet, just because they get slapped on the butt on the way by, So, I mean, it could be something like that, or even if a bear runs over top of them. You know how that is. A lot of times, people always say, hey, if a dog's coming to bite me and I got a baseball bat and a cheerleader's pom-pom, what are you going to defend yourself with? Most dogs drop the bat. If you can't scare him away, you're probably not going to hurt him away. Pick up that cheerleader's pom-pom and shake it in his face. So even if a bear charged him and just ran over top of your other dog, I mean, that could scare the heck out of him. And, that's more inclined to happen in that tight cover, right?
Yeah. And I was thinking about your, the dog numbers. So down there with Doug and BB, we typically had 9 dogs. I had 3. Each of them had 3. The big bear that BB was able to take, we had my 2. I had 2 on it, and BB had 2 or 3 on it. Pretty much the entire time. So 6 dogs. The bear we caught on Youth Day, I had 4. Hot Rod had 6, and Garrett had, I'm gonna say 4 or 5. So there was a lot more dogs there, but it's open. I mean, it's not as thick. And what you're saying may have a lot of clout that he's just not going to get himself pinned in. Maybe he doesn't like that, just like in our drug dog or, any dog in the patrols or, in the law enforcement sector. I mean, I've got dogs that don't like to go up in corners. They don't like to go in tight quarters, and that's something we have to work with them. So,
yeah, I've always found I got a real nice trick for that as well. We used to have some that absolutely hated going into like mop closets or tight confined spaces and everything like that. And gosh, I was with Jerry Bradshaw when I learned this little trick.
I'm gonna see Jerry. I'm gonna see him Monday.
Is that right? Tell him I said.
Yeah, I will. I'm going. I've got to go to tomorrow evening. I've got to drive down to Richmond for the VAPWATA seminar, Virginia Police Work Dog, and Jerry's going to be down there teaching a class Monday, and then I think Tuesday through Friday he's just going to be helping people and doing whatever. So go ahead. Sorry.
He's a cool guy. He's a real cool guy. But one of the things he did was we had a dog, and I think it was a new handler that was the dog had issues going into a mop closet, and with a decoy present, and the dog was rock solid. Otherwise, like blew me away. Like not that one. Like maybe one of these other 3 or 4. But not that dog. He shouldn't be terrified of that. And it was as simple. I just watched all the puzzle pieces come together right in front of your face. We just had brought the decoy out, took the dog into the mop closet, and sent him at the decoy from inside the mop closet, and then got on the bike, gave him a little bit of time in there to enjoy himself, and immediately turned around, sent the decoy right back in, and then sent the dog into the mop closet. And he acted like he never had a problem in his entire life. So, I mean, it was as simple as sending the dog out of the area he was intimidated by into, the area he was comfortable with. And I can't even, we could speculate all day on why that fixed it. But the behavior is undeniable. He would not enter into the mop closet with the decoy present. And then we swept it around and put the dog into the mop closet and sent him out of it. And then every time thereafter, never had a problem again. And it was like right there, right in front of us. So like, there's some weird things that go on with confined spaces with all types of dogs, like our bite dogs and our other ones, and if it's a thick bound up area, like you're saying, with all the briars and everything like that. And then they're like, okay, that bear is close, and they've, been swatted or pressured or ran over top of. Like I said, that happens with mine as much as anything. That some of the areas where the bear can run are these narrow little trails, and they'll just run right over top of a dog trying to get away. And that'll terrify when they think they're getting got, and they don't even have a mark on them, So I mean, that's highly probable. And a lot of times when there's more dogs, like somebody's getting ran over, because they'll circle them up, So man, if I'm tracking everything right, it did sound like he was having his issue the tighter the cover is,
Yeah, he's not doing that here. I've never. Again, he's 18. He's 19. He'll be 19 months old this month. But I've never seen that issue here. I've never, last year when he was I was hunting him in December at 10 months old. Yeah, I mean, we had an ornery bear. I mean, running dogs down. He run off a lot of young, like puppies.
Yeah,
and they're a year older puppies. I'm okay with that. I get that. I understand. This year, I've not seen it. I'm not making excuses. I just haven't seen that behavior here. And then once we go down there, it's like, who's this dog? Where'd you come from? And what I thought was so funny, when that bear was run, like Monday after we killed the big bear, we treated another one. I mean, that running bear, I mean, he looked like $1 million. I mean, he looked like a dog that you want. I mean, out of the gate, all the way through the race, whatever. But they never, when they crossed the road, was probably the closest they were to that bear. And then, of course, it got into another big cut in there and whatever. And then again, like I said, on Thursday or Friday, same thing. Bear was running, looked good. I mean, right up front of the pack, running hard, going, doing the things that they're supposed to be doing. So, yeah,
Was that all prey drive though? I mean, is that a distinction? I mean, could it just be, all right, he's fine with treeing because it's up in the air and he knows where it is, and then when he's running it, of course, that's going to be, what drive we could probably that for a while, but it's all he's chasing at that point,
Right. The prey.
Prey drive. And so there's a lot of things that came in there. So if I ask a wrong question, just definitely correct me. But was his issues when it was just walking, when it was there, when he was like right up on top of it, and it wasn't a chase anymore, like he basically trailed it up and here it is, and I may not be comfortable to bay this thing in the tight woods, or no, because you said he ain't doing that there. So yeah, it could be in the environment. It could be, you were shooting at him at all places too. The powder burn was there.
Well, I mean, again, he never made it to either bear that we took.
Okay.
And like I said, as long as it was running that chase, like you said, he done phenomenal. He's a good tree dog. And then, like I said, you come home Saturday and they catch a bear on the ground. They walk it for 30 minutes, 25, 30 minutes. They actually catch it or get it stopped where we can actually go in and start catching dogs. And bam, he's right there, bayed up tight, putting pressure. It's so crazy. Like, it's just so crazy.
Was there dominant dogs at one of them? Is that another thing? I mean, because sometimes a dominant dog will, own the tree. Of course, we all know that, but that could even happen on the ground too. I mean, could it be that?
Well, it could be. And actually, you and I kind of think alike. That's why I left Spook in the box Tuesday or Thursday on the other bear. I said, okay, I'm just going to take him out of the picture, see what happens here. Which, I mean, Spook's about as humble as you can come. I mean, it just don't get any, there's no illness out of him whatsoever. And I'm not going to put up with an ill dog, period. But in my mind, I'm thinking, okay, let me take the old dog out, see what happens. Took the old dog out of the picture, same result. Yeah. But the old dog's in the picture. Monday on the second bear, Friday on the bear that treed, and then Saturday. So it's just puzzling to me. And like I said, I'm hoping that it's an environmental thing, like like we talked about. And if it continues to happen, then I'm kind of like you. Maybe he's just not going to get himself in a position to get himself hurt.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. But I want my dogs to be. I want them to act the same here.
Oh yeah,
North Carolina, Virginia, Maine, New Mexico. I want consistency.
China, anywhere. Yeah. I know exactly what you're talking about.
That's what I want.
Dog everywhere. Yeah, I guess you just have to keep your eyes open. I've been there before. We've all been there. Like you're like something is going on, and what is it? And the human mind's so good at finding patterns. Sometimes we can get in our own way sometimes too, so I guess just keep your eyes open. Maybe it'll show itself. Odds are it'll probably if he's a great dog, it sounds like he is, it'll probably correct before you identify it, maybe he just needs
I hope he does, Yeah. All right. So let's move on to Hart. Like I said, my goal with Houdini, I'm going to go back down there. I'm going to keep turning him loose and seeing if I'm getting the same result. And if I do, then I'm going to have to break it down even further. And like I said, I don't think it's an issue with where once he catches it, okay, I'm done. Because like I said, I've seen him on the ground here 3 different times this season and no issues. Stayed till I caught him, pulled him off, however it happened. All right. So Hart. All right. Hart is his litter mate, same age. But I got to give you some background on her. So I got these dogs started last September, kind of like what I'm doing with the A puppies now. I take one here, take one there. September, I got them running, treeing. December, I'm like, okay, they're 10 months old. I'm going to take them a little bit. Well, I took them and they started doing so good. I was like, man, I hate to leave them at home.
Mm-hmm.
So Hart got to hunt the first 4 days of season, and she come in heat. So she missed out the next 3 weeks, and that was after Christmas when I brought her back. I think it was after Christmas, and she was on a couple bear, but we didn't take any of those bear. Every bear that she was on, we didn't take. All right, so she's went through September, December, no bear. August, the very first day of season, her and Spook catch a bear, and she gets some holes. So I have to lay her up for a week, get those things healed up, get her back out. Of course, it's hot in August, so she was on several bear. And then September, after Labor Day, here she comes in heat again. So, no, I'm telling you wrong. No, after Labor Day, which bear was it that done that? I'm trying to think. It was the big bear. Yeah, so she come in heat. So she was up for 3 weeks, and then the last week of season, we catch the big bear on the ground that gets trip, and she comes out with holes in her again, pretty good rip in her back part between her tail and her ham. Got to staple it up, and she's got some pretty good puncture wounds between her back and her ribs. So I have to lay her up again. So she misses the last week and a half, 2 weeks of season. I get her out there, and no, I didn't hunt her during I did. The early season. I can't remember.
Right.
Yeah, I guess I did hunt her the early season. Didn't kill any bear. So she's not had a bear knocked down to her. Now Houdini has. He was on several that we took last year. So she's not been on any bear. So I explained to you what happened. So she's not had any bears. She's had half the hunting that he's had. She's been in heat or been hurt. So she's missed 6 weeks just being in heat, and then she's probably missed 3 weeks. So she's missed 9 weeks total of hunting since I got her started last September because of heat and getting hurt. So on the big bear, I told you she kind of looked startled when they shot in the shotgun. And then on the next day, she literally come to me, her and Axe. And once we got around to where the bear was killed and it was done, she done her thing, whatever. So I was worried about the second morning. She was startled the first morning. The second morning, I didn't see that behavior, like that wide-eyed look. And then the third morning, I was worried about her even going. And when I dumped that tailgate, man, she was right in there doing her thing, running the bear. So this brings us to that thing about the gun, with you and the odor, which I have to admit I've never looked at it through that window, even though I know I should be. When you said that, it was like a smack in the face. I'm like, oh, duh, that's a part of it. But with her, and I got to thinking, on the way home, like I said, it was a 5-hour drive home. So I was trying to play all this stuff in my head and rationalize it the most common sense way that I could. Most of the bear that we take, not all, are in trees. Uh-huh. So we tie the dogs back. They don't have no escape route. And we're usually only shooting 1 or 2 times, and we're using a rifle. And what I have seen with in the law enforcement world, when you start bringing out that shotgun, the percussion alone changes everything. My dog, Pino, was very solid on gunfire. We could shoot a pistol and you could shoot that AR, and he's solid. But we started doing, we had a pursuit and ended up in we spiked the person. They had a gun, and they got out of the car with nothing in their hands, and basically we put off a couple beanbag rounds and sent the dog. I seen a behavior in Pino that I didn't like. Ears back, tail tucked, still did the job, but at the same time, his whole demeanor was different. So our next TAC training, we set this scenario up, and we started working the beanbag gun, to a takedown from a vehicle. And that first whole session, same behavior, tail tucked, ears back, still apprehended the person, still held on, still did everything he's supposed to do. And I actually called Franco Angelini. Do you know who that is, Chad?
Franco, you said?
Yeah. The bite doctor.
Yeah, I was wanting to say, I think I might be getting mixed up with somebody else, so I'll just say no.
Anyway, so Franco's one of my mentors. He's been a friend of mine for years now. And Franco he used to do all the decoy schools. He's taken a job with the ATF and works strictly for them, training their dogs now. But Franco said, Heath, he said, you got to start him away and bring him into the gunfire. Don't take the gunfire into him, take him into it. Mm-hmm. Which I knew this from a previous conversation that I had. And I'm like, well, Franco, that's how I started him with the gunfire for the pistol and the rifle. I don't have any issues. It's not an issue. Dog's solid. He'll hold it down right beside me, and you can shoot off as many rounds as you want to. You can heal with him shooting. It's good. So the percussion of that blast in my mind, had to be what changed that behavior, because gunfire's not the issue. So, Chad, I want your take on it. I like the theory, or I like the part about the odor, but now saying that the dog's solid on pistol and rifle,
right?
What changes in your mind? What changes the shotgun?
100%. It could still be the odor. The powder's different. You know, the powder they use to launch those beanbags is different from the powder we use to launch lead projectiles. So, like, right off the bat, the burn on that is going to smell different. Now, that doesn't necessarily mean that's what's spooking them. But, like, if we're just looking for dissimilarities, if I'm using that word the right way, things that aren't similar, you know, to me, if I know a difference, I'm going to count on that dog's nose being able to tell a difference, even if it's just a knowledge base. If I could hear a difference, I'm thinking it's going to smell it different. If we're going from pistol to rifle, all of the above, you know. So that's the way I like to think about it, you know. And I'll say that again. That might not be the problem, but that is something that he could probably discriminate against. Because I use all these percussion things for abatement, animal abatement, scaring off critters, blackbirds, and the like. And the powders we use for some of these projectiles are called shell crackers. I stick them in a shotgun, just same old regular 12 gauge shotgun. And I could shoot 100 rounds through that during game bird season and everything's fine. But if I send 5 of these shell cracker rounds through, the powder that comes off of that, it is filthy. It'll gum everything up. It'll break your automatic loading, you know, your auto shotguns and everything. So it's a dramatic difference there. So I would imagine, you know, whatever powder that is that they use to push that beanbag might be different. And it's just something he don't like, maybe. Or like you say, the sound, you know, just the sound could be different and mess them.
I'm going to incorporate.
It'd have to be, because, you know, when you're talking rifle, you know, you're talking about a projectile that's going. Shotgun rounds are subsonic, and the rifle rounds, you know, they're going to be moving a lot different, aren't they? I think it's a combination. You know, the like. Okay, so when a jet flies over, you know, an airline flies over, and I don't know that maybe you guys probably have seen this. It's one thing, but when a fighter jet flies over and he's smoking, man, that'll make your head. It'll make your head drop a little bit. You know, even people, the dog's hearing is so much more acute than ours. I mean, could they be picking up on percussion too?
Oh yeah, definitely. It could be, you know, it's something. There's a difference, especially if he's rock solid on pistol and rifle, and now he's showing a little bit of a little something on shotgun. There's something that's different. You know, it's either the odor or the sound. You know, it's not going to be the visual. You know, unless he's attaching it to the odor or the sound. You know, and saying this thing that I see now is one of those things I don't like. You know, but yeah, it could be sound or it could be smell. You know.
Yeah, and I'm going to incorporate, but just to go back to heart, because that's what brought this up.
Yeah.
And I was just saying that the different behavior that I saw in Pinot, who is solid on the pistol. I mean, the 40, the 9, the 223, like the difference in his behavior from those rounds to the shotgun was tremendous. Like I kind of was surprised, honestly. I'm like, oh wow, okay. But she's never been in a tree where a gun's been shot, much less behind a bear when somebody's shooting at it on the ground.
Right.
It's an easy fix. There's no doubt I'll fix this, and I will fix it. But the shotgun, I think her first couple of bear kills and the shotgun being the weapon of choice was a definite. I'm not going to say a backslide, but it's a definite. I don't want to scar her, if that makes sense.
Oh yeah.
I do shoot my 22 when they're puppies. I do shoot it out here, and I mean I make all kinds of noises and whatever, so on and so forth. So yeah, I'm going to over the next couple months before our season comes back in. I'm going to incorporate a couple of. I'm going to start doing some powder stuff, and I'm going to up the rounds. I mean, like I said, most of our rounds are 243, 30, or pistol. I mean, 44. Some of them, like Forrest, them carry the 454s. I carry a 41. So I'm going to cap off a couple shells and just kind of leave them laying around the pen and stuff for that, just to incorporate that smell. Because, Chad, I think you made a very good point. I think it's a part of the overall picture, and I like to train in pictures. And I kind of feel dumb that I have not thought about that before, because that's something I feel is very important.
And here's something else to consider, just, while we're on the subject. It's I really enjoy coupling it with food whenever I can.
Yep.
So I mean, you could take those, pop off a bunch of those shells like you're saying, and then maybe just duct tape them to the bottom side of the food bowl. Or I don't know if you like feed out of bowls or feed off the ground. If you're group feeding, like there's a bunch of different good reasons to do it this way or that way. But if you do feed out of bowls, that just makes it simple. You can just get a big long strip of duct tape and put a cocktail of them down there, put everything you could possibly think of, and just open leave the tops open and just duct tape the bottom of it to the food bowl. And then that's how he eats. He has to eat in the presence of it, and it's just a simple way of immersing him in it.
Well, you've trained dogs for article detection, firearms evidence recovery.
Oh yeah.
So they're out there. They're out there looking for shot shells and guns and everything else. I think it's the same thing. You associate the odor with a reward, and before you know it, I think you'll work past it. But have you gained places that shoots trap or anything like that around close, like old shotgun clubs that they're shooting trap and things like that, where you could go and park. You could park 100 yards behind the line. As many police departments as you got down there, there's surely somebody, doing firearms training.
Yeah, and that's what I do with Pino.
Already.
I mean, every time we go to the range, he stays in the car. I park my car 50 yards away, and he hears it for 3 hours. Yeah, same principle. And I think I'm going to do. Actually, I think I'm going to do an experiment, Chad. I think I'm going to separate the dogs, and I'm going to do shells only with one group, and then I think I'm going to do the shells and the sound with the other group, and see what if there is a difference, and see how much that odor has to play in that part,
and then switch.
Yeah.
After you do it,
I think
A this way and B this way, and record your results, and then swap them, and see if you get a difference.
The thing that I think is interesting is the fact that when the bear's in a tree, you haven't seen it, but when the bear's on the ground, then you're seeing a different reaction. And that's interesting to me, and it's got me thinking about when you shoot up and you're shooting up into the wide open spaces, then something's going on there with percussion and odor and everything. versus when, it's a close shot down on the ground and the dogs are around it. It's like when it's up, they kind of get the residual coming back down after the the bear's coming out of the tree or whatever. And then on the ground, it's like, man, I'm getting it right now. Now the reward is, not as it's all crunched down into the same time space. That's interesting concept to me. I never thought about that.
And again, when they're at the tree, they don't have an escape route. I mean, they're tied up. We tie them back a little ways, but they hear that pop, maybe the second pop, and then all of a sudden it's like the Pavlov. Here comes the dog food. Here comes the bear. Boom. Here's our reward. That drive takes over any type of fear most of the time, and they go right at it. So, yeah, it was completely different. Like I said, it really put things in a different perspective for me. With the issue, like I said, with the issues, the dog still did good. I'm still happy. Just things I got to work out. I mean, it's a part of it, right? Part of the process.
Here's one more thing on that. I just thought of a story while you were talking. I got a dog, Rebar. He's one of my best track starters. All right. He loves the trail, and if they run it to the tree and he happens to get there first, he'll tree it and he may come off of it like 100 yards and then track it back to the tree and tree for a while and then come off of it 100 yards and track it back to the tree. But if it's low in the tree, he's going to be trying to bite feet, whatever he can get. If it's running, he'll be right up behind it, kind of barking on its butt a little bit if he can. But if it's in a den, he will bay 50 feet back. He don't want no part of the hole. He is terrified of the hole. So I know we were talking about, okay, the bear in the tree and you got the gunfire, and then the bear on the ground and you got the gunfire. I know a lot of times, like with Rebar, for example, when it's in the tree, he goes, there it is. I got it there. It's afraid of me. He's been, at the base of a tree a lot. He's super comfortable, and I can kind of speculate and come up with little ways to rationale, but I always try and cut that out as much as possible and go with the behavior. Don't try and say it doesn't matter why, but what is the behavior? What is the behavior? All right. The behavior is he trees like a hammer. He will put his muzzle on a bear's butt if he can get to it and it's running. But when it's in a hole, he's as far back as he could possibly get. All right. Now, the way I'm trying to tie that into what you're saying now. Oh, and on top of that, when that bear's in a hole, I can hardly put hands on him. At the tree, I could walk up behind him. I could pet him. I could slap him in the face if he gets nasty with another, with a puppy that's trying to get up on his tree or something. And he's very tolerant of me and everybody else. But when he's in the hole, I can't even touch him. Like I'll call him over and he'll back up. He'll run to the other side. He'll run to, the other 50 feet on the other side of the dang hole. He is uncomfortable when the bear's in the hole. So it could be that the dog's just uncomfortable with the bear on the ground and he's more sensitive to the gunfire then, as opposed to it is in the tree. And I've been here. I've done this before. I know everything's afraid of me. But when the bear's on the ground, he's like, man, that rascal's around here somewhere. He I've been ran over before. Where is it? Bang. He hears the bang and then whoo, that could be it. Or just one more part of it. That's just one more thing to consider.
Man, wouldn't you like to be in a dog's head?
I'd love it.
I mean, daggum, we'd be millionaires, wouldn't we? All right, let's move on to the next thing real quick. So Chris and I had a conversation about his Tough not wanting to recall.
Mm-hmm.
Put him on a line. Chris, you tell the story, and then we'll go there.
Hey, we got time to do it. I mean,
Yeah.
we're looking at okay.
Yeah.
So I'll break this down real quick. Tough's money on a line for recall. I mean, I've done the whole recall thing. He's come to me, boom, reward, food reward. And he's good inside here. The thing that he's not good at is once he comes off the line, it's like, I know what I'm supposed to do, but if I don't feel like it, I'm not doing it. And recall's pretty tough right there. He's good with, and Heath, you've seen it when we've been bear hunting, when I've had him out with us.
Mm-hmm.
He's like, he'll run around. Sometimes, man, I can call him from 150 yards away and he just comes screaming. But if he gets distracted or he's just like, putting double middle fingers up to me, he's like, nah, I'm not doing it, And so So he's good with tone. He knows what tone is. The thing that I'm having problems with is when he's online or offline and I hit him with a short stem, then he goes into flight mode instead of reacting and coming
Oh,
to
yeah.
me. Tone, note, boom, bump him, and he goes into flight mode. So I'm working him on the line now. So that's where I'm at. He's solid online. He's solid in the house. He's good on tone. He knows what recall is. He knows what he should be doing. It's just that he's an obstinate little turd that's like, I'll do it when I'm ready. He's like a little spoiled kid.
Yeah. Sounds like a Jagdterrier.
That's where we're at.
Sounds like a Jagdterrier. So have you done stem while online?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. That's what I'm moving in. See, the problem is when he's online, I don't have to stem him.
Yeah, that's
You know what I mean?
that's where it kind of gets into the issue where I know exactly what you're saying. You can call him and he can come, and if he's disobedient, you can jerk on the line or reel him in or whatever, and you could force the issue. But when he's off the line and then now you're applying e-stem, you can't force it anymore. You can keep it going.
Well, when I say
go ahead.
When I say I don't have to stem him when he's on the line, is like he's money. You know, there's no reason. He's boom, he's obedient right now. But as soon as he's off that line, he's so smart that he understands. It's like, I'm not on the line right now, and I don't have to listen.
I totally get it. And for example, with force fetching, when we like force fetch dogs for retrievals and everything like that, in the beginning, you know, especially some of these purpose bred retrievers, you can put a stick in front of them and say Cheetos, and they're going to put it in their mouth. It's just been hardwired in there so much, you know, over and over and over and over and over again. Like some of these young Jagdterrier pups or Labradors, you could, like I said, sit them down in front of you and then hold a baseball bat up and say, bring. And they just instinctively put the bat in their mouth. Now, later on, they have to learn, in order to get out from under the pressure, they have to stick the item in their mouth. They have to hold it. And that jump, that's, some people call it escape training. Some people call it a bunch of compulsion, this, that, the other. We can set all that to the side. But what actually has to happen is you'll have to stimulate that dog while he knows what he's doing. For example, with force fetch, I could take the item, hold it in front of them, say bring, he's going to stick it in his mouth. But I will start with very low stem anyway, even if I know the dog's going to do it. And I release the stem as soon as the dog does it. So it's not going to be hard enough to where I'm blowing sparks at his hind end or causing conflict. But like, I'll get the dog up on the force fetch table and I'll apply low stem and hold it down, continuous, bzz, very gentle. The dog's not turning his head, he's not upset, but I'll hold, and then I'll hold that stick up out of his reach, and then I'll slowly bring it in. And the second that dog gets it in his mouth, I let go of the stem. So I'm introducing the stem. He doesn't need it. He's trying to put the item in his mouth. He's trying to hold it for me, and I'm withholding it while applying stem. And then as soon as it gets his best, I take it away. So like 100%, I know what you're saying. He doesn't need it, but you need to give it to him anyway, so that he knows that's how to get out from under the pressure. So my knee jerk right now, and you may say you've already done this part or something else, but my knee jerk right now would say to get the dog online, give him your verbal recall. Hopefully it's not just a tone, because toning and stimming at the same time can make connections you don't necessarily want, but give a verbal recall and apply low level stem. And then like, I love it. I love when I see a problem, because if I can totally identify it, if you start giving him stem and he starts bucking like a fish or trying to get away, you're like, awesome, fantastic. I found the problem. Now like, as long as you know what the problem is, you can fix it most times. So apply low level stem and then recall them. Have some kind of reinforcement, your verbal praise, if that's good enough. I like verbal praise, but I also will bring out some string cheese or hot dogs or whatever, but let them get out there and then apply the stem and your verbal recall at the same time. And then you can force the issue with your hands. It might even help to have a second person out there, and they can work the remote and just say, hey, when I touch the dog, stem goes away. Or when you see the dog eat this hot dog, stem goes away. Or, when he gets in within 2 feet of me, whatever. but apply the stem and then reel him in. And then once he does what he wants, take it away. Are you doing that yet?
No, I have not done that. And that's why we're talking about, okay, so right now when I recall,
Mhm.
he knows to run to me, sit in front of
Mhm.
me, and boom, he gets his reward.
Right.
And it's not food every time. Sometimes it's just, excited
Yep.
petting, physical, verbal
Keep
praise.
him guessing.
So when I'm looking at this, adding the stem until he complies, okay, so are we talking about keep that stem on until he's coming and sitting in front of me, or as soon as I start to see that behavior change and he's coming to me? Or in the beginning, do I start with the stem until he gets to me? That's when you turn it off and then move back, move away as as soon as I start to see the behavioral change, I take the stem away. Do I build up to that? What's
Yeah,
the
no,
process on that?
you're the goal is that he has to run all the way back to you while stem's on. So to start, keep it short. A really short leash, one that you could almost like operate with one hand, almost like you could pull the leash up in the air and then he's going to close the distance to you because there's not that much line. So that's what I would start. Get a pocket full of little pieces of hot dog, go out there and Tough, right? That's the name, Tough. Yeah, Tough, come. Apply stem and then reel him in. And as soon as he gets to you, he goes off, treats there. So in the beginning, he does not get out from underneath even all the way through it. Yeah, he's not going to get out from under the pressure until he has completed it. Now, I wouldn't have a finish. I wouldn't have him sit pretty or anything like that. But like basically where you guys could touch each other is when the stem goes away. And then again, not that you're going to do this, but everybody's listening. We are not frying them. I have no problem, absolutely no problem getting in a dog's butt. But they don't learn when they're just trying to, oh my God, get me away from this. Like you want to teach them with low level stem. At least I always like to work in sets of 10. Get them to recall from 6 feet under stem with a positive reinforcement at the end. And don't worry about your finish. Just get close, touch me, get to where you can touch me with your nose. And then here's your reinforcement, and then let them get out again. And, walk down I work it into a walk. I don't walk all my dogs every day, but especially if I'm working with one, just a walk kind of helps build some cohesiveness. And then during that walk, you got your hot dogs. He smells them on you. He knows you've got them. He's like, okay, we're going to do some stupid human tricks. I'm going to get some hot dogs. So you let him smell something. And then, maybe where another dog peed, and then Tough, come, and then apply stem. And then as soon as he gets back to you, stem goes away, reinforcement.
In the past, this is the problem I've had. In the past, I have done this sort of training, and it seems like I've reduced their hunt drive when, so how much is too much? How often, we're talking about every time he turns his head and he starts moving away from me, I don't want to be recalling him. Right? It's very random over a long period of time. Correct?
Yep. Like if you do like a 10-minute walk, I'll do it like twice. The first time I'll probably go to somewhere like the backyard, somewhere where it's a controlled area. He's used to the obedience, and it's not going to combine with your field work as much. Don't go take them down to your favorite hunting field and do this. Do it in the backyard once, and then you can knock out like 5 to 10 of them real quick. Like almost, like I said, on like a 4-foot leash, apply stem, pull the dog in. As soon as he gets in, stem goes away, treat, and then do it. And then I do that every day, every other day, depending on how hard the dog takes it. If the dog's like having a lot of conflict with the stem, but that's the other thing. Like, go to your backyard with on leash and then find his threshold. That's one of the main things with the e-collars. Find his threshold. I don't like to use the Garmin for this. There's not enough settings. I like to use what am I using right now? Gosh, I forget what it's called. We can get it later, but it's a remote trainer with a bunch of different levels of stem. And it even has the old school system on it where it's got like level 1, high, medium, low, level 2, high, medium, low, so I can really quick, boom, 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 go escalate or maintain. And find out just walk them around and start on 0, the lowest setting possible, and just keep tapping that button, while you're walking around in the backyard, and you're watching him like a hawk, and then just slowly turn it to the next level and slowly turn it to the next level. Ideally, there'll be a level where he'll it'll prompt movement of some sort. They might turn their head, but not lock up their head like you're frying a dog for running deer or something like that. But they might twitch their head. They may pause, smelling something in the wind, and you tap them, and then they start walking again. And then you'll have to do it a few times, but that's the level you're looking for, where they can feel it, but it doesn't hurt. And if you can find that level and do it 10 times at that level, you generally don't get any bad association with it. They don't begin to, dread it. Like you don't want to take the leash off and the dog like hang their head. So is that, am I kind of answering the question?
Oh, yeah.
Bit? All right. So
Yep.
very low stem.
Yep.
And then repetition and routine are our friends. Gosh, these animals are a slave to routine. So if we could just build habits through routine, and take them out and do it the same way. I like to work for 10 2-minute sessions rather than one, however many that is, it's so much better. Get them into a routine and they're going to start walking around and going, hey, he's going to call me any second. Boom, here comes the stem. And they already know the answer. That's the main thing, is they have to know how to get out from under it. And then once, once you're getting it, the dog's getting it. You could even just very softly, very quietly, tough, come. And then, bzz, and low levels. And as soon as he gets back to you, then you reinforce. And then you work out with a longer line. But he's already proven to you that he knows how to get out from under that stimulation.
Oh, he knows. He knows the drill. That's the thing. That's the thing that drives me nuts. I know what I want. And I don't like I don't like that when they're just like, yeah, I know, but I'm not going to do it right now. Yeah, oh yeah. When I'm ready, I'll be over there too.
Right. Right.
No, that doesn't fly with me. There's a reason why I'm teaching you to recall. You're either running towards a road, you're in a bad situation, that I want that sort of handle on him because he is a Jagdterrier and he can get in trouble.
A lot of trouble himself.
Yeah,
other
he
people,
knows
all kinds of stuff. I talked to Heath.
Yeah, he knows that there's not he knows that you don't have complete control over him when he's doing that. And I know you and I talked about some old school things. You can lighten the line, like use 511 cord because it's really light. So it takes that pressure away. Or like I was Chad, I was telling Chris a couple of days ago, when we were working on recall years ago, we would put a traffic lead, the 18-inch lead on the dog, just hang it off the collar. So they thought, oh, it's still on there. But that's old school. It does work in certain applications, but with what you're saying, Chris, I kind of agree with Chad. Lighten up that line, and it's stem till you get back. And it's funny that you used the word 10. I like for a dog to do it 10 times in a row, whether it be over a 5-period day or whatever. If they can complete it 10 times like they're supposed to, then we move to the next task.
That's right. I love working in 10s. It's the easiest way.
That's right. Same thing. Yeah. Well, guys, I have got to go or I'm going to be late. And I appreciate you guys getting up this morning, especially you, Chad, getting on here and talking about some of these issues. And hopefully it'll give the listeners, I've never had the issue that I can remember, but I've never hunted down east a lot either. So two things go hand in hand there, with a dog that's performing like he should here. Take him to a different environment and completely acts like a different dog in certain situations. So that's new to me. Maybe it'll be helpful to some of you guys. The gun thing, like I said, that's something we can fix. I'm not too overly worried about that because it's just a process of exposure, like you said, consistency. And over time, the dog understands when the gun goes off, I get my reward. Like my neighbors will be over here shooting and my old dogs do not shut up. Like they know, like, oh, it's coming. Where's it at? So I have to go get on them. So, it's kind of like the Pablo thing. They understand, with this noise, this is what happens. So thank you guys for being on this morning.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah.
And until next time, teach, train, and learn.